Hello everyone, my name is José Luis Enriquez Chiñas. I am a PhD candidate in the Political Science Department at UW-Madison, and I will be the instructor for PS104, Introduction to American Politics and Government, this summer. Because the class will be entirely online, we will not meet in person, I decided to make this video in order to 1. Introduce myself and our TA, 2. Tell you a little about the class, walk you through the syllabus, explain what is expected of you, and 3. Show you how the Canvas site for the class is structured. My work as a political scientist focuses on election law and election administration in the United States and in Latin America. So, I really like teaching this class because it allows me to go back and revise the building blocks of American politics and make them more accessible to students like you. Whether you are a poli-sci major, are taking this class as a requirement for a different major, or are taking it simply because it sounded interesting, I am confident you will not be disappointed. Now, there is no wrong time to study American politics, but this is an especially exciting time to do so, with the start of a new presidential administration that is radically different from the previous one, the consequences of economic and social of the waning COVID-19 pandemic, continuing debates over infrastructure, social justice, healthcare, energy and global warming, immigration, gun control, calls for reforming congressional rules and the judiciary, and in general, growing concerns about polarization and gridlock in Washington. I look forward to engaging with you in all of these topics. Before we move on, let me introduce you to the rest of the team. The class will have one TA, Rebecca Anderson.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Anderson, and I'm a JD PhD student at the University of Wisconsin Political Science Department and Law School, and I'm really looking forward to working with you this summer as your TA.
Because of COVID, I haven't been able to see Rebecca in a while, which sucks, but I hope to see her soon. Let's now move on to how the class is structured. This version of PS104 is designed specifically for an online experience. As such, I have favored asynchronous assignments. Other than the midterm and final exams, there will be no synchronous activities. That is, there will be no lectures and no discussion sections. Instead, the students are expected to submit a series of scheduled assignments that show us you are engaging with the class materials. I think the easiest way of explaining this is breaking down a typical week. On Mondays at 8 a.m., I will post an episode of the PS104 podcast, hosted by me and recorded here at Van Hise Studios. Every episode of the podcast will be between 20 and 30 minutes. I will talk about the topics assigned for that week, as well as what is the importance of each of the complementary readings. Listening to the podcast is mandatory. You can listen to it at your own pace. You can download it as an MP3 file from our Canvas or subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you listen to it on a timely fashion, though, because at the end of every podcast, I will give out the discussion questions for that week. The podcast notes will include the names of the students that have to write a response paper that week. More on that in a minute. Also, on Mondays at 8 a.m., the pages for that week's quizzes and discussions will become available on Canvas. Let's now jump to Wednesday. By Wednesday at midnight, the students assigned for that week will have to submit a response paper to the discussion questions of Monday's podcasts. The response paper will have to be of between 400 and 500 words and will be posted on the discussion section of our Canvas. These discussion assignments will begin on the second week of the class. Let's move on to Thursday. By Thursday at midnight, you have to complete one of the quizzes for that week. There will be 2 quizzes available each week, one for each of that week's topics. You can choose whichever topic you prefer. On Fridays at midnight, you have to submit to Canvas one multiple-choice question with 5 possible answers and one short answer question with its answer. Both questions must be related to that week's topics. They can be based on content from either the corresponding book chapters or the complementary readings. Finally, all the students that were not assigned to write a response paper for that week must go to the discussion tab of Canvas, read their classmates' response papers, Choose one and post a comment under that response paper explaining why you think it is the most compelling one. These comments must be between 100 and 200 words and are due Sundays at midnight. So, to reiterate, every week you are expected to submit 3 assignments: either a response paper or a comment on our discussion forum, a completed quiz, and 2 questions with their answers. Besides these assignments, there will be 1 midterm exam on July 9 and 1 final exam on August 7. Throughout the term, we will cover 16 topics, 2 topics per week. The first block is on the foundations of American politics. On the first week, we will cover an introduction to the class and the Constitution. On the second week, we will discover federalism and civil liberties. On the second block, we will examine the American political institutions, Congress and the courts on the third week, and the presidency and the bureaucracy on the fourth. From there, we will move to the third block, political participation. On the fifth week, we will talk about public opinion and campaigns and elections, while in the sixth week, we will discuss political parties and interest groups. Finally, we will see how it all fits together by examining public policy on the fourth block. On the seventh week, we will cover civil rights and social policy, and in the final week, we will go over economic policy and foreign policy. Each of these 16 topics is assigned a corresponding chapter on the textbook, as well as a series of complementary readings. The complementary readings come mostly from the Enduring Debate book, but I have also assigned some pieces that talk about cutting-edge findings in political science or about current issues in American politics. And by current, I mean from the last 2 weeks. The reading load ranges from moderate to heavy, so I strongly recommend that you don't fall back on the readings, both because you need to do the readings to be able to submit the assignments and because you will not be able to catch up on the last couple of days before the exam. Let me now show you how to navigate our Canvas site. This is the homepage. At the top, you will find 5 quick link buttons. The podcast button will take you to that week's podcast. From here, you can download it as an MP3 file or follow the link and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. By the way, if you are not an Apple user, please let me know what's your preferred podcast provider and I will try to submit the podcast there. The discussion button will take you to the discussion page. Every week, starting on the second week of the class, there will be 2 discussion threads, 1 per each topic covered. The discussion and quizzes buttons will take you to the respective assignments for that week. You will be able to submit each assignment by entering text directly on the browser or by uploading a file. Going back to the homepage, there is a link to this very video, and the rest of the page will list the topics that will be covered in the class. There is a dedicated page for each of them. Let's go into one of them as an example. As you can see, there is a list of the readings assigned for that week, including links to the readings that are not in the books. There is a link to the discussion thread for that week, and then there is a series of resources developed by Norton, the publisher of our textbook. These exercises are in no way mandatory, but I recommend you take advantage of them if you have the time. They are a great way of expanding and testing your knowledge, especially as you prepare for the exams. Let's now go to one of the quizzes. You click on the topic of your choice and it will take you to the Inquisitive website. The first time that you visit, it will ask you to create an account and it may require a proof of purchase for the book. Please let me know if you have any trouble accessing this resource. That's our Canvas. And that is going to be it for me today. Please let me know if you have any questions by sending me an email to jlenriquez@wisc.edu. I look forward to working with you this summer. Have a nice day.